Hello and welcome. I am Kemuel Pascal and you are viewing One and One here on WESN Content Capital. Well, the future of agriculture is certainly the youth. And to speak with us in today's episode, we have Mr. Alpha Senon, founder and executive director of Y Farms Limited. Mr. Senon, hello and welcome to the program.
Yes, greetings. Thank you for having me. Greetings to all the wonderful viewers and listeners out there.
Yes, thank you so very much for joining us. Now, you are a young person and we are speaking about agriculture in today's episode. And we thought it fit to get your perspective on it. What is your view on the agricultural sector in Trinidad and Tobago at present?
So, you know, I'm very happy that you all chose this topic today and invited me as a guest. Great question. Holistically, the view on the agricultural sector presently is one that is definitely changing. And I must commend, I would even say, citizens who are taking up the mantle to plant something and get their food security, personal food security going. And of course, I know this because I'm a man on the ground and I have seen the paradigm shift over the years. From even when we launched the Y Farm in 2015 to now, there have been a lot of, I would say, perception that is changing, and hence the work that we continue to do to make sure and make people aware of what the sector can do for you personally, and of course then as a country. Now, so from on the ground perspective, there's this awareness that is happening, that is sensitization, which is great, right? Then from a policy perspective, the changes must work and move forward with these changes that is happening on the ground. So, the policies must change, So, presently, we find that there's a need for more and more policy implementation to meet the needs of where the agricultural sector is going, to where food security is going, and being able to make it a more and more viable career option for the young people in particular. Now, one such great program that I must commend is the Homestead program under the Ministry of Youth and Development, and Community Development, right? And Ministry of Youth and National Service, right? So this is the Homestead program that young people, they are getting trained right now. Then they're going to get 2 acres of land and a homestead to live, etc., etc. That is beautiful. That is wonderful. I know a lot of young people who have taken up the opportunity to be able to be part of that program, and of course there's a lot who wanted to, but everybody cannot get through at the moment. So these are some of the changes that we are seeing, things that I would have been advocating for many years. Give young people land, give them funding, give them training, give them a house to live on, to do their agriculture. Because in different parts of the world, in developed countries, we see these things happening. So this is very commendable, but there's a lot of work to be done, where even from the education is concerned, being able to educate children in primary school about agriculture. Yes, we may have agricultural science and the curriculum, etc., but I always still say that are these teachers inspired and motivated to continue teaching? We know there's some who do, but then there must be more work as well, even with the NGOs, to go into schools and being able to promote it in a way that these children could come up with the sector. So I touched on children, I touched on young people. Now, farmers, our regular farmers, they are still complaining, and they have a right to complain, because I complain too, because I am a farmer as well. And, the price of chemicals, the input supplies, etc., is still very high. Let me just interject there. I do want to get into that, and that's actually my next question. I want to get an idea from you, because you sit at an interesting point within the sector. So give me an idea, so what are some of the major challenges that farmers are facing, not just in terms of land, because we know that's a big issue, land tenure is an issue, but in terms of finances and chemicals and things that you mentioned, real world issues. Climate change is obviously a major issue that is impacting upon the sector. So let me hear the challenges now. I think one of the major challenges in Trinidad and Tobago right now, we have the high cost of input supplies. That still is a ticklish problem, because I've been very honest. Like, sometimes you have seeds that you purchase, right? The seeds may not be good. And then when you purchase these seeds to set them and you plant them, etc., then you need a whole lot of chemicals to be able to make sure that they get a good crop. Now, many people who are in the sector would tell you that it's almost impossible to do chemical-free agriculture, right? People will tell you that. Now, I don't agree with that because I believe that we must treat the soil and we must be able to understand the soil, test the soil, give the soil the correct nutrients it needs, and you will use less. I'm not saying none, but you'll use less. And of course, there are safer chemicals to use, etc. But the high cost of input supplies, that causes quite a problem. So when you see some of these prices of goods skyrocketing like that, that's one of the reasons, right? Of course, another reason would be, well, in the rainy season, the floods. Because people underestimate sometimes when this place in Central, they would flood out, right? Or when somewhere else flood out that has a cropper, like a big cropper melon gen or a big cropper tomatoes. That affects the price because it flood out. So that means to say you have a short of supply there now. So that skyrockets the rest of tomatoes that remains on the market. Sometimes some of these places is considered like the breadbasket of a particular crop now. So then when you lost that day now from some kind of flooding, then that price goes up. So then we need to use more, of course, technology. We need to take care of the environment more. Government needs to take its role in terms of drainage. Of course, the people too. I don't always say, the government, but the people need to do the right thing when it comes to drainage and the pollution. And many of these man-made causes that causes the pollution and the backup and then cause the flooding, right? So those are some of the major issues. And I also think training, we need to do more for our farmers when it comes to capacity building and training. Yes, there's courses, but we need to go to the farms and meet them, because our farmer may not be online to see any ministry doing this and that. But I think with some level of technology, farmers could even bring down some of these courses that they are faced with as well, and able to make a more sustainable agricultural sector then. And of course, last but not least, we need to ensure that we have subsidies to continue to help farmers. One of the major problems with the subsidies that there are subsidies existing, but then you have a lot of farmers who is not registered, so they cannot access these subsidies. And they're not registered because of land tenure. So the circle goes around again into the problem of land tenure. And so then now the cost of the chemical, the cost of the machinery, labor cost, etc. is pretty high for them, and that causes a closed loop that affects everything once and for all.
Well, those are quite a number of challenges that you would have mentioned in there. You mentioned things like high input cost, flooding, obviously a major issue, especially now in the wet season. You also mentioned training and development because, of course, your human building your human capacity that's always priority. And you would have mentioned things like subsidies. Now, you sit at an interesting position within the sector. Give us an idea as to what are some of the conversations that you would have had in terms of your own advocacy by way of meeting with government stakeholders or the Agricultural Society of Trinidad and Tobago in terms of getting some of those issues fixed.
Well, I would say to start to be clear. I mean, my work. You can't fix everything, and then sometimes you have to focus on something. So my work really and truly where I sit, via Y-Farm, I really and truly work with the young people, and I work assiduously with even some of the ministers, etc., advising here and there to ensure that our young people get a place at the table, to ensure that some of these programs are geared towards them, that they can really benefit from it, even as much as the agro-incentive grant. I would say assist in lobbying that we do a youth version of it. So last year, I believe there was a call for young people under 35 to be able to sign up for the agro-incentive grant, and they call it the Youth Fast Track. And this is, from, work like for myself and others, not taking the credit for everything, but to ensure that our young people have benefit from what the sector has to offer, and that we not just continue saying the same thing, that our farmers are aging and we're not doing nothing about it now. So every 5 years we quarreling about it, but I believe that we must nurture them from the young up, from a young age, come up, grow these young people and train them, motivate them, inspire them to be farmers. I also sit on the NAMDEFCO board, as a director. And of course, my role there is to advocate for small farmers and young people coming up as well in the industry. So I do that as well via wearing that hat, but definitely under my role as the executive director at YFARM, I ensure that young people and children, so we do weekly trainings with young people on farms all across the country. We go to Port of Spain, we go to Moruga, Sandy Grande, everywhere. And we say we creating the Agriculture Kids Club nationwide.
Now you are a man on a mission. In fact, you are quoted as saying global food and nutrition security is bigger than a one-man fight. And after attending, this was of course after attending one of the first ever global food summits. You would have made that comment, and so you obviously have a passion for the sector. That's clear. You have a drive. You know what you want to do. But people may not know the work that you are doing, especially those outside of the sector. So tell us, what exactly is YFARM?
Yeah, so very good. I mean, YFARM is a local NGO that pioneers agricultural educational entertainment, to inspire and motivate and train and educate our young people so that they can become our future food nourishers, As important as I say future food nourishers, because we can have food that fill us, but it then fulfilling us. And this is something important that we must, I guess, if nothing, COVID-19 had to show us, about the way that we eat and the way and our health and our body, etc., right? So YFARM does a numerous number of programs, training programs. We do our Agripreneur Mastermind program. It's an 8-week training with young people between the age 18 to 35. We do national school tours where we go to schools, we carry our character. But as I mentioned character, I think one of the things that we have been really recognized for and awarded for as well globally is the creation of the world's first and only food and nutrition security superhero called Agriman.
Yes, I know about Agriman. Huh? I know about Agriman, yes.
Right, so we created the Agriman superhero character. That's the male. We created Photosynthesister. That's the female. We have Agribot. So we tell these stories via comic books, and kids would read and enjoy them, and we do story times, and they come on the farm, and we have a little reading club, etc. And also we're about to turn the comic book into like animation, into cartoon. So of course, look out for our cartoon on some television station near you coming soon, but it takes a lot of work. And of course we do a lot of community garden projects, so we have a project lined up with the Volunteer Center of Trinidad and Tobago and UNDP that we are doing about 4 or 5 community gardens in East Port of Spain, getting these young people in the city to create a sustainable food park so that they could not only feed themselves in the community but make money out of it, now make it become a business, So these are some of the things that we do. We supply different supermarkets, because we have a farm as well in Superior. And then we have an Agripreneur Incubator Design Lab, where young people come, get a chance to make products and different things from agro-processing then. So we have different machinery, different equipment. And we have like a Callaloo Park, we have a pimento powder. These things can be found at Massey stores. So yeah, so we not only talk in agriculture, we walk in it as well. And I believe that, my vision was to make YFARM, to showcase YFARM as an entity, that the young people could come into it and find something that they like, enjoy doing, and they could just build on that as a future business for themselves. Right. So one thing to just say, you could do this, you could do that, but I want you to come and see and feel if you want to plant, if you want to harvest, if you want to package, if you want to process, branding, marketing, distribution. So I invite young people to come on the farm with us and show them a day on the farm. You come in the dashing bush patch, you harvest dashing bush. We cut it up, we do a Callaloo pack, we take it to Massey, we sell it, we put it on the shelf. These are the things that we must be inspiring our youth to see so that they can understand the value chain that exists. So their brain not less limited to, well, me really want to plant in that mud day, I want to do that, but they see other things as well.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
The youth are about technology and the integration of technology and digital agriculture into how they move forward, because the things that our foreparents did and our grandparents did or our great-grandparents did in terms of the way in which they farm isn't necessarily the future of agriculture. So let's now look at incorporating digital stuff and technology into agriculture. You would have mentioned things like branding, food processing. Those are things that we are moving forward to within the future. Not just that, we're also looking at on the farm itself, not just taking the crops from the farm to be processed. Let's look at on the farm. What are some of the technologies that you all are using within the sector now and you can recommend that persons can use?
Yeah, so when we talk about technology, the word digital agriculture definitely comes up. And, for some of the viewers who may not heard the term before, let's give a quick definition. It really refers to the use of new and advanced technologies integrated into one system, that helps the farmer and stakeholders within the agricultural sector, I would say, farm more productive, to increase your productivity then. So you could, different devices that you can use in your agricultural system to be able to improve your productivity. So some of these devices, would be considered like for example, pH meters that you could test, how alkaline and pH your soil is and your water level is. Your EC meters as well. Then you have like the sensors, the pumps, so all these things now enable you as a farmer to be able to farm easier, right? I mean, and as you rightfully said, what our forefathers and our ancestors did, I would say we have more knowledge, we have more technology. Well, let me say more knowledge, but more technology, more advanced technology, because I feel they were smarter than us, But we have more technology now that allows us to do it a little easier, less labor intensive, etc., etc. So we know how to take these technologies, implement it into our farming system, and be able to farm better and easier. Now, many people think that, and let's clear the air on this, many people think that means we're not farming in soil again. And that's a big misconception that I must share with all the viewers there, because you could still farm in your soil and use your pH meter, use your pump sensors, use your EC meters, etc. Right? Now, yes, there's hydroponics, there's aquaponics, those things are soilless agriculture. And for people who like to do it, of course, do it safely, no problem, but those are technologies that exist. But still, digital agriculture don't only mean hydroponics and aquaponics. It could mean farming your same dashing bush and you have a pump and you have an EC meter, you have a pH and you test in your soil, or you have a remote sensor where you home and you see in a camera and you watching your dashing bush growing, So that will still be considered digital agriculture. And I just find that to be something that we need to be very clear on. But of course, many young people, I must say as well, is gravitating towards the hydroponics. Maybe they find it to be a little less labor intensive. I mean, so they might think from the beginning, but it is quite some work as well. You have to make sure and monitor your crops, etc. Make sure you regulate the the temperature and make sure all your chemicals, which you have to use as well, is on point, because it needs to continue growing your lettuce, your patro, etc. So many young people are gravitating towards that. But then we have like vertical agriculture as well. You have those systems. You have indoor farming, people doing farming in containers, where they're using LED lights. So there's numerous possibilities, and I think you must get what works for you and your budget and the resources you have available.
I'm glad that you would have cleared up that, because a lot of people, when they think about digital agriculture, they think about hydroponics and that kind of thing. Those are the main things that we know here in Trinidad and Tobago. So give us an idea as to what are some of the recommendations that you would make, not just to people, but let's just say you have the ear of someone in government right now who you can, the Minister of Agriculture, and you can give him this recommendation so that we can increase in terms of our output here in Trinidad and Tobago, get more people into the sector, just by way of utilizing technology. What would that recommendation be?
Yeah, well, I would definitely put more subsidies on some of these pumps, these meters, these sensors as well, that people could be more affordable, you know. Sometimes you'll see that people who are doing the hydro and whatnot, you know, they might be people who may have gotten laid off from a job, or they have a job, you know, and they something else funding that. You know, sometimes for a young person to just start that from scratch, it's very, very difficult, because, you know, where does he get that cash to start it? So I will plead to them that, you know, we should regulate the prices of these things, or well, subsidize it, I would say, you know, and of course again subsidize the cost of the chemicals, but that's very, 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 it's very high. You know, a bag of urea jumps from 1 to 10 just like that, you know. So anyhow, but yeah, so those technologies we must be able to have, I think, more subsidies so young people coming in the sector could afford it. And just as I said before, it's a misconception with thinking that digital agriculture means no soil, you know. We must have training. We must have capacity building, and go to the farms, you know, go to communities and show people how farming tomatoes on the ground, you could do it via digital agriculture, and make sure that people understand that they can use these systems, you know, within their normal farming, what they're doing, their bed farming, you know, their traditional farming. So it's like traditional being merged with technology. And I often say, and I will say this to everyone as well, you know, we must IT, indigenous techniques meets IT, information technology. IT meets IT. And that merge there is where we will get safer, more affordable, and even, well, I don't want to say faster food, but faster food does sound like fast food, and which sometimes doesn't be good for you. But you will get a safer and nutritious crop, and you will get it farmed less cost, you know, less input costs, because you're merging the ancestral knowledge with the nowadays knowledge to create something better for more sustainable as well for our population.
No, a big point within there that I've heard you mention over and over is training and development. And I myself would like to underscore that training and development is, of course, key in terms of building capacity within the sector and getting us where we need to be, not just here in Trinidad and Tobago, but as a CARICOM region, where we need to be in terms of our agricultural output, not just output within the CARICOM region, but also outside of the region. What are some of the things that you would recommend for the government or let's say institutions like UE and COSTAT and UTT to focus on to get people into wanting to utilize the sector and also train?
Yeah. I mean, we had to do more grassroots training. You know, we have to do more agripreneurship training. You know, we have to get our farmers thinking about value addition, about creating products instead of just, you know, let's produce. Because little do we know, plenty times when a farmer farm, because he can't get it to market immediately, he have a lot of wasted, and it becomes such a norm for that farmer. Well, boy, I about $4 of tomatoes day that, you know, I get a sale in time, you know, and he has lost that, right? So we must then get community hubs that this farmer could take this tomato, bring it into this hub, this agripreneur incubator design lab, which stands for AID lab, that they can process that tomatoes, you know? And it must be these things as well. Logistics plays an important role. That's why I said more grassroots and community level. So he had to go quite piakuna or quite Grandy, according to where he's coming. He right there, you know? And it could be simple cottage industry things. But then you take that now and then you take that to the supermarkets, etc. You have a distributor. So we have to train these farmers and young agripreneurs with business skills, train them with product development ideas, packaging, processing, marketing, branding. Why a farmer can't know that? Why a farmer supposed to only know to plant and plant good? That is just one part of the puzzle, you know. In developed countries, you know, you have I have traveled the world and seen agriculture in Italy. You know, you have these farmers who they farming grapes, and in their vineyard they making the wine right there. You know, they have their wine making right there, packaging, labeling, and going to the shelf. And these are multi-billion-dollar industries, of course. But then we talk about these things that we see across the world and feel like if it's something that can't happen down here. And
you're absolutely correct. So essentially what you're saying is, because we are running out of time, is that there needs to be an amalgamation within the sector and also an amalgamation of all entities, the government, private sector, and also farmers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sure. Well, as we wrap up, I'm so very grateful that you could have joined us on today's episode and continue to do the work that you are doing.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and it's absolutely my pleasure to be here to share. And I hope that our lovely listeners, you know, could learn something today. And also definitely check us out on Facebook, on Instagram at YFarmIt, our website www.yfarmit.org to learn more and follow the work that we do. And as agreement say, plant one tree and you go eat for free. That will guarantee food security. Thank you.
Certainly. Well, this has been One and One. I am Kemuel Pascal. Thank you so very much for joining us on today's episode.